Hi, welcome back to Energy Works. I'm here with Lauren, and the subject for today's podcast is love. And whew, love is it's a fun and touchy subject a little bit. Of course, Lauren and I talk a little bit before the mics go on and think about of all the things that we can say about a given topic based on the energy and what we have learned and what we teach with other people. And we know we just have this short amount of time to talk about a given subject. What do we want to talk about? And the energy of love. I think that's actually a book, Lauren, right? Donna Eden and David Feinstein wrote a book called The Energy of Love or The Energies of Love or something along those lines. So that's our subject for today. And as an energy medicine teacher and as a yoga teacher, I teach about love in various situations. And I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm not talking about finding a partner or your life relationship, dream love. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm really talking about what matters is loving yourself. Because I'm going to say this a couple of times because it's why I want to start this podcast with this, because of all the things that I teach over and over and over again, this could be the one that gets most resistance from women. So I'll say it. You cannot love someone else more than you love yourself. I'll say it one more time so you can just let it sink in. You cannot love someone else more than you love yourself. Everything that we project out onto others can only be projected out by us because we have it within us. And so, reflecting back on the last podcast when we were talking about being judgy, if I am judging someone else, I can only do that because I judge myself. Otherwise, how would it even be possible for me to judge someone else on something that I don't even have within me? I'm not going around judging people on things that I don't know anything about or I've never felt before. That would be impossible. And so it is like that with love. If I cannot love myself or just the smallest amount can love myself, that's all that I can love somebody else because what I can put out cannot be greater than what I have within. And where women argue with me is with the moms. I mean, the moms are like, oh, Blaine, no, no, no. I love my children more than I love myself. And honestly, I've never had children, so I am not in the most appropriate place to debate someone from a real life, current lifetime. I haven't birthed a baby. However, I've had this debate time and time and time again, and what comes up is conditional love. And so often, yes, we can conditionally love somebody else more than we love ourselves, but that's apples to apples. That is not the same thing. Conditional love is not love. We are not talking about conditional love in this podcast. We're talking about love, love. And it's impossible to give what you don't have. So I will set the stage with that and pass the mic to Lauren.
Okay, just a quick, easy baton toss there. We're really just diving in on these few early podcasts on some of the biggest topics of humanity. So I think we'll probably circle back to them a few times over the months and years to come. But love is a really fascinating one to talk about because when I one of the teachings and the biggest teaching that I've received from the teachings that I give is about love and about our ability to heal. Because at the root of it, energy medicine yoga is a practice for healing. And the root of all healing comes from self-love, comes from the ability to love yourself, to bring that energy of what love means into the cells and the energy system of the body so that they can work optimally. I'm sure many of you have seen those studies with water where you'll say mean words to water and then freeze it and see the crystal structure of the water and how they are so deformed and disjunctioned when they have mean words attached to them versus words like love and poetry and joy and creativity and all of these positive sounding words. They actually change the structure, the cellular structure. And so if you hold within your heart the opposite of love for yourself, your cellular structure resonates with that. And that resonance is not the resonance of healing, of wholeness, of holy, which are all from the same root word. Healing, wholeness, holy are all from the same word. And that means to bring back into wholeness together. And we can't do that if there's a part of us that is completely disjunction from that, disconnected, that is literally anti wholeness, which is the lack of love. Anti wholeness is the lack of love. And so to hold that love as one of the primary drivers of healing and to recognize that so many of us, I'm stopping myself because I have to tell you a story just based on exactly what you said. I was just teaching at a retreat center recently, and I asked everyone to write in their journals a little bit about a courageous act that they took. And this man stood up and he said, when my first daughter was born, and I took her in my arms and I looked at her and I was so full of love. But what I realized was that I could not love her unconditionally until I could love myself unconditionally. This was this father's first interaction with his child in the physical form. And he recognized and had the courage to name that to himself, that if I don't love myself completely, there is no way that I could love her completely and unconditionally. So what you said right there in the beginning, Blaine, I really think is a resonant truth. And I think a lot of maybe the mothers that are battling you with that may not have accepted and understood what it really means to love yourself unconditionally. I'll bat that back to you and see what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And the first time I received pushback because I've never doubted teaching. When I studied in India with the spiritual master I studied with there, it was a core teaching and is, yoga, Buddhism, spirituality of all kinds. I think it doesn't matter the denomination or faction. Love is always the answer. I mean, it's the central tenet of being a spiritual being in this on this planet in this universe in the multiverse, right? The answer is always love. And so we talked about it quite a bit when I was in India, and maybe I was just easily convinced for whatever reason. And I could see my own lack of self-love. I could see my, self-hate. That's a very strong word. I don't know if, but where my love for myself was weak. Maybe I'll say that. And from the ways I look at myself in the mirror, I have written at length about the mean voice in my head and how for many years in my life I had a debilitating mean voice in my head that I believed was me and I believed was true. And that's been one of the biggest hurdles. And I can't say that never ever happens, but it 99% doesn't happen anymore, at least to the deafening degree that it used to. So I can accept that I can't love others more than I can love myself. And then I went to teach it the first time, and it was like, wow, like just the pushback that I did not expect to get. And so, and of course, like I said, I don't really have a hill of beans to stand on in some ways because I've never had a baby. And so I'm going to tell these, mothers who have had babies that I know more about them, about how much they love their baby. And so, I wouldn't, and I had to consider their perspective. I had to consider their perspective. It's part of being a teacher. You learn from your students, you grow, you evolve. You're not always right. And so this is one that I've really explored and I've come back, but I've seen many of these women circle around to the same thing and come back to me and say, "Blaine, you're right." And that is where this concept of like conditional love came in. And so I love your story. I haven't heard Lauren say this story before about the man, and it was a man who just on his own came to this realization that it is true. And we talked about power in the last episode. And how our power affects other people. And so this rooting into love as being conscious and having conscience and the use of our power is just like hooked in to this discussion about love.
I want to circle back to that huge pushback that you get from these students of yours, because I think some of that pushback comes from the denial that we don't love ourselves completely. Because if you just ask somebody, do you love yourself? Somebody that's, maybe one of your yoga students or on the spiritual path, or, I mean, it's sort of a random question to ask at a dinner party. But, most people will say, yeah, or yeah, I like myself well enough, or already in the talking, they're already distancing themselves from it. Instead of this wholehearted embrace of, yes, I absolutely love myself. It's like, well, what do you mean by love? And, yeah, I'm pretty good, I guess. I'm okay. Or, yeah, I'm good enough. I like myself fair enough. But except on those days where, they already start to qualify it. And when I ask people this question, when you are getting dressed in the morning and you're looking in the mirror, what do you say to yourself? And you talked about those voices, but I want to, like, everyone right now that's listening to this podcast, bring yourself to this morning when you were getting dressed and when you were looking in the mirror, either fixing your hair or putting on makeup or putting on jewelry or just checking out your outfit to make sure everything matched and was straight. What did you say to yourself? I'm going to give you a moment to think about that. What did you say to yourself this morning? Did you say, wow, you're looking so beautiful. Oh, I love you so much. Have a great day. Lauren, you are the cutest. I love that necklace. Your hair is fabulous. Go have a fabulous day and bring that fabulosity to the world. Is that what you said? Because chances are you probably said something like, oh, I'm looking a little haggard today. I better have a double cup of coffee. Gosh, those bags under my eyes. Oy, my hair. It's time for a haircut. I wish I could do my hair as nice as she does. It always looks crappy when I do it myself. These clothes, I can't afford another outfit, but this is just hanging off me so, I don't even, but I love that necklace. Oh, look at that pretty necklace. And then you're off. So the only thing you gave love to was an inanimate piece of jewelry on the body, and everything else you were just dissing. And that's me being PG, because really we know that the voices in our heads can be much worse than that. And that is just it's your biggest red flag, but that's just one little indication that you are not loving yourself. If you are saying mean things to yourself, or about yourself to other people, oh, I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I did that. That is not love. Instead, oh, wow, I forgot that was so important. Oh, I wish I could have remembered that. Is so different than I'm such an idiot. I forgot that again. Totally different, and things that we just say without even thinking. And these are the little hits that we are getting and giving to ourselves over and over again, that is telling every system of the body, not love, not love, not love, not loved. I'm not loved. I'm not loved. I'm not loved. That's what every energy system is healing. Excuse me, is hearing. It's hearing, I'm not loved. I'm not loved. It's not thinking, oh, she's just making a joke. Your inner energy system does not have that ability to distinguish that you're making a joke or you're being sarcastic. It goes right into your nervous system, right into the hard drive of every energy system, and it gets cataloged. Not loved, not loved, not loved, not loved. That is what your body hears over and over again. And I don't have to tell you, but I will. All the studies that have been done around children, around plants, around animals, that if you consistently tell them negative, bad things about themselves, they do not thrive. They do the opposite of thrive. They shrivel, they
So I think what you're saying, Lauren, is we are the plant, we are the animal, we are the kid who is hearing this over and over and over again, just to be crystal clear on
exactly.
where you're going. Yeah, yeah. There's a saying in Buddhism translated that is when you're having a problem with someone else, because, to back it up a little bit, so we're moving into the holiday season. And when students or people in my circle, um, often people are trying to make changes in their life that they want to make that are not what the other people in the family make, or not that the other, relatives make, or people in their hometown. And so they are now different, right? This gets back into ego. Like they are now different than how they used to be. They are now different from the tribe that raised them. They have become different. And so, of course, we're all just people on a journey. We talked about that in the last podcast, but now it's holiday time. And so they're going back to the family Thanksgiving meal, or, visiting the parents for the week or whatever it is, with some trepidation. And so they'll ask me, because I started doing all that 15 years ago, and I was kind of born that way in some ways in Oklahoma. I was doing things different than my tribe pretty early on. And so, they say, Blaine, what do you do? What do you say? And the answer is love. I love them. And that is how I walk in, truly, because Uncle James, these are figurative people I'm just making up. Uncle James is here on his own journey, and he's under the influences and dynamics that he's been under his whole life. And he was raised by his parents who raised him in a certain way. And so if Uncle James doesn't understand why I'm vegan, or why I don't go to the Baptist church, or what my spirituality even means, or what I do for a living, or any of those things, I can just look at him with love. The answer is always love. And it sounds so yoga woo-woo, right? Like the answer is love. But it is. I mean, that is the answer. That is really how we move into these situations. So back to the Buddhist saying, the Buddhist saying is, when you are having a problem with another person, what poison are you bringing to the party? And that poison you're bringing to the party is what is inside you. It's your lack of self-love. It's your judging. If you're bringing that to the party, you are feeding whatever the conflict is with that other person. If you love yourself and you are bringing love to the party, that conflict, if it even still exists, is in a whole nother place.
You're talking really specifically about that ego separation that we talked about in the last podcast, and how we overcome that in ourselves and with our relations, because that lack of self-love, if we don't love ourselves, then we are separated from ourselves. And if we don't love ourselves and we don't love others, then we're also separated from others. So we judge ourselves, we judge others, we don't love ourselves, we don't love others. And we can see how that can come out into the world in really challenging, difficult, negative ways. And I love that you keep saying the answer is love, because It's so simple, and yet, of course, it is the most profound thing. Every spiritual teacher, every spiritual tradition, every pop song on the planet. I mean, it's all about love. Love is the answer. Love is the cure. Love is all there is. I mean, just over and over again. And what I think is important to understand from our perspective on energy works is, how does the energy of love work in the body, in the physiology, in the energy systems of the body? Because we can talk all day long about love, and I can think about, okay, I'm going to love Uncle James, even though he's challenges me. I'm going to love him. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to look in the mirror tomorrow morning and I'm going to say, Lauren, I love you. You're amazing. Have a great day. And that will actually go a long way towards helping me to love myself, and then by extension, being able to love others, even differentiated from myself, even differing opinions from myself. But we want to talk about the actual energy of love and how we can use energy techniques to help ourselves love ourselves more. Because there's one thing to talk into a mirror and say, I love myself, and to put sticky notes around the house. But does that have a measurable effect on my self love? Does that change my self love physiology? Blaine, does it? And if it doesn't, what can you help me to do to actually work with the energy of love that needs support in my body?
Yeah, it's a great point because we have triggers, right? We have deeply
Mhm.
embedded triggers and we have energetic patterns. Our trigger is just a little switch we have that is a like a little indicator of a pattern. We have these deep energetic patterns and then they get triggered and the old thing comes up and the old feelings come up. And we all know this happens. We're humans. We have energy patterns. So the way we override, interrupt, choose your word is we do a hug, and you can think of it as a self hug. In energy medicine and energy medicine yoga, we call this cradling the baby. You can guess who the baby is when you come into this situation for yourself. And what we're doing with our hands is we're holding some powerful points on the body to bring them into balance and relationship with each other. And these points have everything to do with self love. So we're going to give ourselves a self hug. So take one hand, it doesn't matter which one, and wrap it across your rib cage and just hook your fingers on the side of the rib cage on the other side of my body. So I have my right hand, I'm reaching across my under my breast, across my rib cage to the left side of my body, and my fingers just touch where they touch. And then my other hand, I'm gonna reach across the body and I'm just gonna lightly wrap my fingers around the back of my arm. So if you're watching on YouTube, it looks like this. And again, I'm holding, there's some, I'm not gonna get into all the names of points and meridians and all that kind of business here, but just trust us that you're holding some powerful energetic points on the body that are gonna start to communicate with one another and bring yourself into balance so you can be in self love and balance. You can do a little sway or a little rock if you could think about like how you would rock a baby. Rocking is very calming. We know this. Babies, what do you do when they scream? You start rocking them. The old folks' home has rocking chairs, right? Like we know that rocking is very calming and soothing. But if you don't want to rock, you can literally be in the moment face to face with someone and just hold yourself like this. You may notice that unfortunately, in pop culture, pop society, crossing your arms in front of your chest has been deemed as a closed position or an unlistening position. In the energetic realm, the opposite is true. In the energetic realm, we want to cross our body. We talked about that in the episode about creativity, how it's important to cross our body to bring ourselves into balance. And in these tough situations, we want to be creative, right? Like we want to be able to be like firing from all cylinders and able to handle the situation to our absolute best ability. And then we are calming ourselves down, bringing ourselves into self love and into this place again from the last episode of equanimity. Can I see this situation equally? Can I see the other party's point of view? Can I balance that point of view with my point of view? And can I handle this situation with love, knowing it starts with self love and then I can love the other? And so, again, these very powerful, but very simple energetic techniques, tricks, whatever you want to call them. I bet even if you're doing it with us right now, you feel some calming and some balance coming over your body. So you cannot do this while you're driving. But pretty much every other situation that you're in, you can put yourself in this hold, in this self hug, and let the power and the magic of your own energy body go to work for you.
I think one of the most powerful things about this technique and many of the others, I'm going to say all of the others that we are going to share with you and already have, is that you don't have to think. Because what is at issue often is we want to think ourselves out of a situation. We want to decide ourselves out of a situation. But your energy and your energy bodies and the energy systems that run you are beyond the thinking mind. And so, doing these holds that we're doing right now, this one specifically, it is activating systems in my body that allow me and encourage me to love myself. That's it. Period. End of story. That's what this is doing. And it's also allowing me to come out of my idea of separation, my idea that I have to be forceful in this situation. It's calming down that trigger response and allowing me to come back into, like Blaine said, into that equanimity and that balance and that loving of myself. This is all just what is happening. That is what those points are designed to do. That is what is happening. You don't have to write a journal entry about it or figure out, what's going on. You just have to do this hold. And all of these techniques speak in the language of energy to your energy bodies. And that is how energy works.
That's a great way to end today, Lauren. We that was a really fun episode on love. We love you. We're so happy that you're here, and we'll see you on the next episode of Energy Works.